these years, Batty. You really need reasons from me.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 DC animated film Injustice, a film that's directed by Matt Peters and it stars the voice talents of Justin Harley as Superman, Reed Scott as Green Arrow, Anika Nomi Rose as Catwoman, Anson Mount as Batman, Laura Bailey as Lois Lane, Gillian Jacobs as Harley Quinn, and many, many more. Now, this storyline is based on the famous video games, the Injustice video games made by NetherRealm, who make the Mortal Kombat series of games. I've played both games. There's an Injustice 1 and Injustice 2. They're both very, very good. And if you don't know that storyline, essentially it focuses on Superman turning bad because he gets essentially, without spoiling things too heavily, Lois Lane dies at the hands of the Joker, basically, and Superman, it kind of drives him mad a little bit, and he turns into the bad guy. And it is then up to Batman and some members of the Justice League to try and fight back and stop Superman from essentially going out for full world domination. And that's essentially the storyline here as well. Slightly different here and there than some of the things I've seen in the games, but along the same sort of path. Apparently, as well, as Zack Snyder Justice League films was going to head down this route if he ever got to make his Justice League Part 2 sort of thing. I think it was going to be a trilogy of films. The second one was going to be Superman turning evil, which it hinted at heavily in the first Justice League, his version. And then the third one, they were going to kind of mess around with time and try and put it all right, etc., etc. So Zack Snyder was going to play around with that storyline as well, which is interesting. And it's a really interesting storyline for sure. And this film is definitely top quality stuff. Now, anybody that follows my channel knows that I have covered quite a lot of the DC animated films over the years since I started the channel. I'm not a huge fan of animated stuff, but I do like the DC animated stuff. I think generally they're really high quality, and I've enjoyed the majority of them for the most part. There have been occasional ones that I think have been misses, like Batman Ninja and things like that I thought were terrible. I think sometimes when they deviate too far away from the core of the character and they play around with things like anime and all this kind of stuff, I think for me, they lose the core essence of what they are. And this doesn't lose its core essence of what it is. It's got an interesting storyline for a start. Superman turning evil is always really, really interesting. And the core characters that it calls on here, which is Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Green Arrow, Nightwing, and things like that. I thought, the core characters are used really well. There are some fringe DC characters that it uses in this film that are either underused or I don't know them at all. There's at least 2 or 3 characters in this film that I've never heard of before, and that's my problem, I know, because I'm not that in-depth on all the characters in the DC universe. So, I know that's my issue. It's not the film's issue. They didn't have to explain who they are and things, but I always feel sometimes that some of these DC animated films try and use too many characters, and sometimes they need to dial it back. Now, I do definitely understand that they needed to use a few more characters here because obviously if you know the games and you've played the games, there's a whole roster of characters that are used in those games, but for different reasons. I mean, it's a fighting game at the end of the day, so you want to fight with different characters, and they've all got their own mini little storylines in there and things. And I think there's other characters that you see in this film initially that they could have done far more with. I mean, Aquaman, and there's 2 or 3 others that you see at the beginning of this story that kind of bugger off, sort of thing. You never see him again. And then there's like I say, 2 or 3 other minor characters that play quite a big role in this film. So I'm not overjoyed with how they handled all the characters here in this film, but I enjoyed my time with this film. I thought it was really nicely done. I enjoyed it. I thought there's some good action pieces, and for me, a DC animated film has done its job if you start fantasizing about what it would look like as a real film with real actors. And I found myself doing that, how it would look with, the Henry Cavills and the Ben Afflecks and, all these other people in the film playing these different roles. And it would have been cool, And like I said, there's a couple of storylines here that I think they didn't do particularly well with. There's Raj Al Ghul, somehow creates this massive threat in this film that I don't know where it came from, that manages to almost kill everybody. It was a bit bizarre. And what they did was Nightwing in this film was a little bit odd as well. I'm not sure that worked, what they did with Nightwing in this. But for the most part, it really worked, and it was really entertaining, and it was a nicely put together DC animated film. So top quality stuff, one of the best I've seen for a while from the DC animated films. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So let me know in the comments if you've seen it, if you're a fan of the DC animated films. And would you like to see this on the big screen? Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you like this review. And of course, I'll be back with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.